And I know you have that Cleveland connection for a short time, so you know the fervency of the Cleveland fans. So
I do, and I was able to actually go to the the All-Star game in Cleveland. So I mean, it's a beautiful stadium.
Awesome. Great. We're in the green room.
We're in the green. Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Green Room. And we are on episode 99.
I know.
Milestone. Huh?
Yeah, 99. So you've been in the green room, I think, right, Alan?
Yes,
Earlier.
yes,
I know he
yes,
has. That's why I said welcome back to the green room. And listen,
Indeed.
we have an unbelievable guest today. I was telling Alan Cohn, our guest today, that when I see that he's running again for Congress, and he'll tell us about that in a moment. And listen, it's an open seat. We have to go for every seat. And, we know this kind of comes out of, and you'll explain it to us better, Alan, in a moment, comes out of Governor DeSantis's master plan. And I'm sure it's going to be a tough run for you, tough district, gerrymandered, but I know you'll tell us all about it. But the point is, when I get a chance to have you on as the journalist that you've always been, if people recognize the face, Alan, of course, was long time.
So we have to just give a couple of people, because we actually have listeners that are not from Florida. So our guest today,
you're the Sarasotans.
But no, we have listeners from Chicago, from Boston.
Right.
So Alan is actually a journalist. He was a local anchor here and had his own nighttime night show, which was really great. It was about politics and all kinds of things. And he ran for office last year, and he's back at it this year, or 2 years ago, in fact. So he's back at it this year.
But as a journalist, listen, we're all watching the congressional hearings, Alan. So we always start a little bit global and national. Yeah. So fascinating. I can't wait to see what comes out today with literally the strong arming of the Justice Department. But you tell me, Alan, because you're the one that's been out there for years and years and years, telling the stories of people affected by what happens at the top. I was so affected by the poll workers, Lady Ruby, and how her life was changed by this
bullying and strong
this misanthrope, former president, Donald Trump. So, Alan, welcome to the show. Yes, tell us what you've been watching over the last weeks, months, years.
I'll tell you what, those congressional hearings have been incredibly compelling. I mean, the issue is, and it's all, I just heard Chris Wallace on CNN saying this, they're compelling, but the question is, who's watching them? Because it is the other side that needs to see this testimony by Trump's inner circle. These are people who were incredibly loyal to Trump, and they are saying in very blunt terms what happened, which was basically undermining the Constitution of the United States. And it is also a litmus test, because if we are at such a perilous moment in our nation's history, and either we have a functional government that works or it doesn't. And you have Republicans who are participating in this hearing, not only on the committee, but testifying, that have a certain element of stature and honesty, that we may not agree with them on many political issues, but it's a matter of integrity. And then there's this darkness of in many parts of that party, and unless we can get a strong Republican Party and a strong Democratic Party to fight on the issues, but in the final analysis govern, if we can't do that, we're in big trouble. And the hearings themselves are a litmus test on whether there are still Republicans out there who are patriotic Americans and believe in our system of government.
We see them, and they testify under oath when they're made to. Yeah, but they still won't come out.
But look at even Vice President Pence. Okay, the testimony was that he was, like I think somebody referred to it was more of a Harrison Ford movie, where the guy is the vice president sitting, in the basement, and the cars are ready to take him out, and he stands his ground and he's like, no, I'm not leaving this building. And he knew that they wanted his head. And And yet he's
who knows where they were going to take him.
But the thing is, this was the Secret Service was going to take him out of the building because he was in clear and present danger, literally.
But in his mind, though, I mean, they were taking orders from somebody one up from him.
But he did stand his ground, and he said no. But the thing is, here he is, and he had integrity for a few moments there. And they said they were like reciting, verses from the Bible, and they were all praying because it was really harrowing. And yet he still, at the end of the day, goes back and then still stands with Trump. And it's like, wow.
It's the brainwashing. It's the brainwashing, though, Alan, that as a journalist, I wanted to kind of get into your, noggin about, because literally it is, it's who's watching and who wouldn't want to watch and know really what's going on. It's that shared truth and that lack of shared truth that we've lost. And that's where Trump started 5 or 6 years ago, with that distrust of the press, right? And that literally putting in a doubt in the mind. That's what's so insidious about, I think, what these hearings have shown, is that they didn't care if it was true or not. Giuliani himself said, we have theories, but no evidence. It was the theories itself, with the consistent droning, not only of mass media, Alan, with Fox News and all that, but social media, as you know. So, you and I come from that communications background, and I know that's got to scare the hell out of you to know that there's a certain segment of America that is absolutely brainwashed because their heart tells them that that election had to be stolen, in spite of what their head is being shown to be obviously not the case. And it's so insidious, and why Trump, I think, and listen, it scares the hell out of me to think that Merrick Garland almost has no choice at this point but to indict, because I think the spark of lunacy, of terrorism from, the right is such a reality now.
This did start before Trump. Let's be honest about that. And the fact is, we've seen a lot of Bernstein and Woodward over the last couple of weeks and months. And the reality is that this is a far different country than it was back.
I wanted to say that it's a different time.
Because, the Watergate hearings, which were also similarly compelling, was a moment in American history where both sides, Republicans and Democrats, and those hearings were run by Republicans and Democrats. And there was almost a shared consensus that what Nixon did was wrong. There were also people who supported Nixon right down to the last day. But there's that famous story of the U.S. senators, the Republicans, Barry Goldwater going into the Oval Office and telling Nixon he did not have the votes to win in the Senate, and he did not have his vote, and that is gone. And the polarization of our media is a big factor of that, because there used to be the discussion that when you lost Walter Cronkite, you lost Middle America. But now we all go to where we're more comfortable to get our news and information, and therefore, sometimes the news is not what we want to hear, but you have to accept it. And if you're just going to blow off any news and information that does not confirm your predisposition, then society at large is in trouble.
But don't you think, like, this is my take, because I was listening to someone actually last night, and they had a really valid point that nowadays with social media in particular, and we call it, scholar Google, who if you Google any topic, you can get a swing this way and you can get a swing that way, and it's information. And it's misinformation, but it's information. So these people validate themselves with the idea that, well, I Googled it and it says, and there's 10 articles that justify what I believe. And so for them, their reality is this misinformation, but it is truly their reality, and they really defend it.
Well, this really underscores why I'm running for Congress, because unless we start electing good Democrats and good Republicans that will go do the people's work, that actually give a damn about, middle class Americans and working families and their ability to make it in this economy. And unless we could get Congress to start functioning again to actually deal with problems that are not Democratic problems, they're not Republican problems, they're the nation's problems, then we're sunk. So we, no matter what you do for a living, you have to reach out to both sides and do your best to work together to actually get the basics done. If we do that, if we're successful, if people will start seeing their government can deal with issues that come up, we'll be in a much better place. But
the thing that I also like, and maybe, I don't know, I run for office myself, and you get sort of bruised and beaten up. And you also get, I think, like, at least in my case, I think you get somewhat disenfranchised, as the American people are. And I think without like term limits or something to get rid of the people who are sitting there for decades, well,
young people are depressed. 52% of the Gen Z 25 and
there's
under.
no change.
52%. I saw the stat this morning. It's so scary.
I'm a Gen X, right? I'm like,
no, we're all depressed because we see the government at the top not listening to the simple common sense things.
There is one thing, though, Ruta, that if you look at least nationally, you could also look statewide in terms of those legislators who are, and I say legislators loosely, who are more problematic now. I'm thinking about Florida's own Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. These people have not been in office a long time. They are fairly young, but let's be clear, none of them are there to legislate. None of them there are banging on their answers to rising prices or rising costs of healthcare or anything else. They are there for performance. So you could look at Democrats and some of the older Republicans on both sides, and there are serious people there who disagree, but historically have been able to work together. So the people who have been there longer are not necessarily the problem. I think that the people who go into politics for issues other than to work on the nation's problems and to legislate are the problem. And we have
don't you I don't know, I kind of disagree a little bit. And the only reason I say that, and just because I like to debate, but no, the reason I say that I kind of disagree is just because I think once you're inside those walls and of any legislative body, that both sides are very strong with their beliefs and who runs the show. And if you're going in, even like an AOC, she went in and you get pummeled by the establishment on both sides, whether it's Republican or Democrat, you get hit because they want you to play the way they play. And if you don't play by their rules and you don't play with them, they don't like you. And so I think this is the change that I'd like to see where, you know what, if you do have a different way of thinking, maybe you should be allowed to speak, even within your own party. And a lot of times the party doesn't like that. And it wants to toe the party line.
Yeah, much respect, Alan, for wanting to jump back into it. Tell us about your race. Tell us about your race and the district and where it comes from. Do you have an opponent yet? I mean, has anybody announced against you?
Obviously we the primary election is August 23, but it was, look, redistricting happens every 10 years, and there were a lot of machinations in terms of what would happen with this congressional district. And in the end, as we all know, DeSantis basically wrote the maps, and they were very difficult on Democrats across the state. But when I ran in 2020, we thought our opportunity is that the Republican incumbent was under criminal investigation. But in the final analysis, well, number one, he lost his Republican primary, and then Trump won the district by 8 points, which really makes it difficult for anybody who is running, below that to be successful. But this new 15th congressional district, which is basically newly created, is as close to being a 50-50 district as any in the country. So it includes the areas in and around the University of South Florida, Temple Terrace, New Tampa, where I live, Wesley Chapel, Land O'Lakes, going out to Odessa, Citrus Park, and then up to Dade City, and just a small slither of.
We'll have some windshield time coming up, Alan.
Right. So we looked at this very, very carefully. And we believe that whether you are a Democrat or a Republican, you are understandably cynical about government, as we've been talking about here. And in me, you have someone who, and before I anchored the news on ABC7, I was an investigative reporter my entire career. And I have gone after corrupt Democrats and corrupt Republicans, and all those stories are up on our YouTube and on website. I've gone to battle for veterans who were denied benefits from the VA, and I even worked with a Republican congressman to pass a new federal law to put teeth into a federal law penalizing companies that take advantage of elderly veterans. And this is what people want. They want somebody who will go there and put partisan politics aside and do what's right and speak truth to power. And in a world where we're all skeptical and cynical, we believe that not only that we could win, but we can bring this kind of work to the United States government, because Lord knows we need it.
We do need it. Amen to that. So just on obviously in the news yesterday was Andrew Gillum, because it is the green room. We have to talk all sides. That was very disappointing, because I was he actually sponsored one of my events in Sarasota when I was running, and he came and spoke, and we did a joint event together, and I knew Andrew pretty well, and I was kind of disappointed in the indictments that were handed down. I don't know. He's claiming innocence and things, and it sounds like he made some bad decisions, but wow.
Well, I mean, he is in the legal process now, and we're all presumed innocent. The whole story of Andrew Gillum is deeply disappointing, and it's a cautionary tale that sometimes that whether you're on a Republican or a Democrat, you're attracted to the shiny object. He's incredibly charismatic and compelling. And you had other candidates in that gubernatorial race who were fantastic candidates, like Gwen Graham. And there are a lot of people saying if she won the nomination, she would have won the governor's race, and we wouldn't have to be dealing with DeSantis at this point. So it's tragic all around, but it also underscores that when you make bad decisions in life, this kind of stuff happens.
I think it'll be interesting to see if the Florida Democratic Party, Alan, can really rally behind, campaigns like yours, Val Demings, I think key race, of course. And I think they're winnable if we rally the troops, those.
What I think also? I think, people talk about local races, and they're super important. But it's also important to support every Democrat who's running in the state. Like if you're a Democrat, we have to be the green room. But
no, it's going to be such a thin margin nationally. These are seats that we have to focus on. Every seat is important, and it's vital, and they're critical. Every single seat is, and especially now, we're looking at so many steps backwards in our society, especially in our state, but overall. Well, let's get things clear.
Versus Roe
I suspect you support abortion rights. I suspect you support voting rights. This is the green room. If you want to comment, LG, of course, if you want to comment on your views towards the
Gun
progression
control.
towards reforms in the cannabis space. I would suspect you're for common sense legal adult use, but I don't put words in anybody's mouth.
But you know what, the fact is, every single issue that you just mentioned are not, when you ask the public, controversial. And you know, I think I saw, you know, something like 67% of Americans, and that includes Democrats and Republicans, are for a woman's right to make her own healthcare decisions. When it comes to issues involving, you know, assault weapons and large capacity magazines, the vast majority of people are for doing something about it. When you're dealing with you know, legalization of marijuana in this state and others, the vast majority of people support common sense. So these should not be partisan issues. The issue is, you know, being able to tell voters these are the issues that are on the line right now, and you know, and how you vote will impact, you know, whether or not you have government mandated pregnancies and whether more children will die in their classrooms. You know, I have a friend who years ago lived in our neighborhood, and he moved to Parkland, and his son was in the building. And I remember seeing his social media post afterwards, we've got to do something about this. We have got to do something about this. And I knew his politics. And I said to him, you know what, if you're voting for Marco Rubio or Rick Scott, you're not voting to do something about this. And his response is, well, you know, you have to weigh all the different issues.
No, well, you don't.
No.
No, you don't. Listen, I am so angry that Rick Scott, okay, who did what he did in Florida under the pressure of Parkland and signed in some common sense laws here in Florida that they don't have nationally, could not even stand behind this watered down bill that's coming through the Senate. And Alan, today, I say we have to speak to that frustration to the younger people who don't quite understand that this is their critical time where they need to get involved. And, you know, I say that for Charlie Crist and Nikki Fried's campaign as well against DeSantis. And I say that for anybody who believes in that, quote unquote, it's not a progressive agenda. It's a common sense. 60% of Americans
on all of these topics,
right?
Like Alan said, I mean, it's overwhelming, but yet again, people don't vote in their own best interest, which is astounding to me.
So I am so happy to have you here so that we can get out the word about your campaign to everybody who wants to listen. And I'm sure you have an Act Blue to that extent site. And, you know, let's face it, it takes money to run for office. So let's give you a chance to tell people how they can get involved, both with boots on the ground and in other ways.
Well, you know, our Twitter is at Alan M. Cohn, and you'll see our campaign site there. You know, our website is alancohn for Florida.com. It's Congressional District 15. And just to sum it all up, you know, if you put partisan politics aside, this is an opportunity to elect someone who has already done the people's business in terms of you know, uncovering corruption and you know, companies that are defrauding you know, your working class families and going to war for veterans and getting them benefits. And it is an opportunity to get somebody like that in the Congress and get away from just the daily partisan smears that are going on, and bring this to a different level. So that's why we're in it. We have an incredible chance to win, and I could use all the help I could get.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the good news is from your past campaign, Alan, I suspect you still have some contacts, obviously, at all the various levels that hopefully will, you know, enable you, and, you know, the name recognition that you do carry. But I think what you carry, surely in, once again, my eye, is that respect for truth, that respect. And once again, that shared truth, I think, is something that we're going to have to struggle to get back as Americans over the next 10 to 20 years, quite frankly. You can't unravel the damage done by what, in my opinion, is a malignant narcissist, former President Donald Trump. I think his pathology shows every day. Why did we have to have the one in a whatever, how many people have that malignant narcissism in a position where he couldn't admit that he lost? That's the bottom line. And the damage that's been done by that massive big lie, is just incredible. So we wish you all the luck in the world. Listen, we have to end up talking about your son, who, listen, I share vicariously through you, Alan, watching your son progress through the minor leagues with Oakland. And tell us, it's Aaron, correct?
Right. It's Aaron. Well, we have 2 kids. We're incredibly proud of.
Let's not ignore the other, of course. But, right, I know.
Who is a life and brought me to the Yankees-Rays game for Father's Day the other day. And Aaron, who, this is an example. It should be an example for every kid out there and every person out there. Never, ever let anybody tell you you can't do something. He went to high school here at Wharton High School in Tampa, where Wade Boggs was his high school coach.
Is that right? I didn't know that. Sure. Yep.
He got to play Division I baseball at a smaller school, not your Florida State or Florida, and Oakland saw him and they offered him an opportunity. He went out to rookie ball in Arizona last year, and then got promoted after a few weeks to their A ball team in Stockton, California. And he has begun
the asparagus spears. They call them the spears, right?
Well, they're the Stockton Ports, but what a lot of these teams do is every once in a while they name themselves and they wear uniforms for something really local. And Stockton is the asparagus capital of the United States. So while they put on their asparagus uniforms, and he's living his dream. And Oakland is the right organization with him. They're making him into the best version he can be. And I remember a former major leaguer telling Aaron and other kids when he was really young that the mistake he made was his goal in life was to make it to the major leagues, when the real goal should be to be the best person you can be. And so Aaron has his sights really high, and time will tell. But he is working his butt off.
Yeah, that's awesome, and riding a lot of buses. Listen, right. If Wade Boggs was his coach, he ate a lot of chicken.
Yes,
got to make a Wade Boggs joke, because Wade Boggs was just, well, you're the Bostonian.
I know, but
I know you don't know stuff like that, but I do. But no, listen, it's so much fun to watch him doing what he does. And you have to have such respect for that. To make it to the highest level, you have to have the natural talent. You got to work your butt off. You have to avoid injury. And, we'll knock on wood about that one. You have to have great coaching, right? And then you have to take it to the next level on game day. And I've had a chance to watch, because you posted some of the saves that he's had, and really that time when you really have to focus down and get that big strikeout. And listen, you got to progress in the minors. You don't go from rookie ball to A ball to the majors. So we know he's got a journey, and it'll be fun to watch. And when he gets to the majors, Alan, I can't wait to see that video of you as that dad in the stands, and
hopefully we can see Alan getting sworn in.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Even better.
Well,
right?
That's true. So we have a couple great things to look forward
to. We need that one too. We need the swearing in of Alan.
But I love the vicarious thrill, because it's kind of a dream of every dad to watch their children progress to their highest level in whatever it is that they attempt to do. And as I've always told my kids, find what your passion is, and then try to get the best that you can be at it. and it'll be like you never work a day in your life. And I know for your years on, TV, because it was your passion. Sure, it was a job, but you loved it every day. Same thing for me and all of us here and what we do. And that's what we're all looking for. So Godspeed in your journey. Let us know when we can assist.
Again, everybody
and
go online, take a look at Alan Cohn.
Absolutely. And we'll have you on closer. We'll have you on closer to the primary and Shirley and through the general. So we appreciate you coming into the green room.
Well, thank you both very much.
Thank you. See you everybody next week for our 100th episode.
Right.